mosquito was just trying to...
There's a collection for the suka. She's so cute.
Oh. Okay, so... doing a lot of research. I'm showing you here the timeline that I'm studying. I pieced this together from separate images. So I created one image out of it. It's huge. And down here, well, this is a separate timeline that supplements the other one. And it's about famous women. The main one up here is famous men and rulers, leaders, innovators, thinkers, philosophers, and so on and so forth. And I mean, it's really interesting that you have this one down here for women that's only in the modern times, because they just don't know that much about the women in the ancient times. But I don't want to get into a discussion about sexism and whether there's a patriarchy or matriarchy or whatever. I'm just showing you this because it's going into my overall research. What I'm doing right now, and I'll switch this over to here. I am writing on Ebola, and this is the main book of the moment. I don't know when I'll post this video, but it's called Ebolavirus Explained: The Truth You Need to Know and How to Survive in This Chaotic World. So, of course, there's a bunch of introductory pages, and then the chapters begin, and I don't know if you can see this. So what I want to do is just make the videos practical, because as I told you, I'm going to be promoting books and the artworks that I'm doing, and making a separate video without that doesn't make any sense anymore, because I'm trying to integrate everything in an innovative way, and this is just how I have to do it. You can see my surroundings, you can see the things as they're happening. I would post this pretty soon, because this is really a hot issue, and I think it's a concern of a lot of people, and hopefully it doesn't get out of control, because it's like really a lot of hype, and it's it's kind of sketchy and like getting out of control, this Ebola situation. And
just like the guy who of that AIDS through the first find out. He's just gonna go. He's just some every.
What are you talking about? It's just AIDS. No. It's
every new disease they come up with, there's hysterical period of time for some time, and then it quiets down. And that's just the way it is.
Well,
it's a pattern.
I mean, if you like that one, there is an ailment of the homosexual community, the gay males.
Even though the women are the carrier
of
the disease.
Well, that's another issue. But when it comes to AIDS, it's primarily, and for specific reasons I'm not going to explain right here, is that it's about the male population of that alternative lifestyle. So homosexual male population is the one that is you need to talk about with the AIDS syndrome, AID, autoimmune. Hold on a second, I'm not finished. You always have a tendency to interrupt so you don't know what I'm talking about. Autoimmune deficiency syndrome is not something that just had, it's this, and then it goes away. For more than a decade, and this started in when? The early middle 80s. Around 83, 84, 85 is when it emerged, and it was hyped up. And pretty much everyone who's been in the gay community, especially of the West... No, but listen to me until I finish. And when I'm finished, you can say whatever you want. everyone that's in that community and who's been in there for a while, I'm not talking about just the young demographic, I'm talking about the people in their, say, above the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, okay? And if you're listening right here, chime in, make a comment. Everyone knows somebody and could have been closely connected with somebody, even intimately, who died of AIDS. You're talking about thousands, hundreds of thousands, probably more. I don't have these statistics in front of me. That's not what the article that I'm doing right now. But go ahead now and respond. I finished.
Okay.
Now you know what I'm
I
talking
remember
about.
in the 80s when they started the hysteria around AIDS, it wasn't just about gay at all. In fact, on the contrary, they talked about just every other person. And I remember the commercials were made like with lots of women, a bunch of women having sexual relationship with men. And in fact, the famous people like such as Ofra Chaza, they claim died from AIDS. She wasn't, she was married to somebody, and they claim that he gave it to her. And she's the one who had the disease, and then she died out of the disease. She was a very famous, successful singer. So it didn't really actually start with homosexuality. I remember how it expanded to that. It started just with any sexual contact. At least that's how they put it out there, right? And then it finally got settled within the gay community, where they said. I have never really heard that it was just as the gay disease. It was always known to be a contagious disease that goes from one person to another as long as they have either sexual relationship or the liquid, somehow saliva or
liquid
something.
or fluid.
Fluid.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's what they're saying with this also with Ebola. But no, listen, just to stay on that topic, you're doing a comparison of AIDS, but your original statement, which is on here, was stating that you don't think that it's like this huge concern for people that are hearing about it now, because you think that it's just going to go away. It's just going to be like something that doesn't really kill anybody.
Yeah.
But what I'm telling you is that it could be a really huge concern. As I mentioned with AIDS, you're just qualifying the beginning stages.
Even AIDS is
No,
like
listen to
this.
me. You just spoke on specifics of how AIDS, the inception of it, and the evolution of it from the beginning. You're not denying what I corrected you with. I corrected you and said that hundreds of thousands, if not in the millions, actually, yeah, I'm going to say that. I'm going to go out on a limb. I think the statistics will bear it out. There's millions of people had died for that, for one reason or the other. Maybe they didn't have to, but they did. They did.
They claim they died. They claim, but
So now you're in denial. You're like a Holocaust denier.
No.
You're denying that this happened.
You just want to be mean because you can't listen to what I have to say.
Why is that
I'm going
mean?
to tell you,
I'm
a Holocaust denier is a
facts
totally
are not
different thing.
mean.
This is not the facts.
That's
the
the facts.
facts are that AIDS is a fake disease. This is the fact. Okay? And
No.
at any given moment,
both things can be true.
Any given
No.
moment, you can be tested positive for HIV. It depends. It can change. The day after, you do the same test and you come up clean.
You don't understand. I'm not talking about that part. I'm not talking about that part.
So don't say that I'm in denial, because that's what I'm denying.
No. I'm not
The
talking
disease
about
is just
that.
another
I
way
don't dispute.
to
I don't
create-
dispute
And
that.
the people
I
dies because
don't
of the
dispute.
treatment, not because of what they
Okay, shut up. It's my video. I don't dispute that can be denied about the real cause and the real nature of it. But what I disputed with you, and how I corrected you, is that millions of people did die. That's the facts.
They died. What are they dying?
And
That's not the
the reason
story.
why I'm writing this
But what
about
did they die of?
Ebola, about this thing that's called ebolavirus disease, okay, at this time it's called Ebola.
Because they're going to
And they
find
say
a
it's coming out of-
treatment, and that's how they're going to kill people. They're going
Okay,
to find
granted,
something to inject to them.
But
That's
my
what people will
point-
start dying.
Granted. But my point is that
So don't tell me Holocaust denier. Why are you trying to throw heat in the very, very good conversation, throwing bad words, and just because you can't listen to everything?
Why is it a bad word? Why is it a bad word?
Because what has that to do anything with the Holocaust? You know, what is that like? If I'm talking about the disease, why are you bringing up the Holocaust?
You're denying the fact that people died.
I do not. That's a wrong conclusion to make. I said many people died. Again, I'm going to say that. Let me figure that out.
So
Many people died,
therefore
but
it's
no,
a disease.
but not because of what they said a disease. That needs to be tested out why they really died, because they claimed there was a disease, and then they injected things to them, and they did all kind of experiments, and eventually that's what ended up making these people die.
Okay.
That's
as I said. Okay, I'm going to end this conversation. As I said, we're not discussing that as a replacement for my original statement, is that because of the entire AIDS scenario, the entire AIDS phenomenon, the entire history of what is grouped as AIDS, not to analyze exactly what it is, the truth of it, but the truth of the results of this thing called AIDS. Okay? It has victimized all these people. I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong. I'm just saying factually they are victimized and they were killed. They died as a result of it. What specifically they died of and whether treatments actually killed them, that's another question. That's a much more involved question.
That's exactly what
that's
I'm
a much more involved analysis.
I'm having, not
so that's actually what you're saying, which I agree with. Now, why don't you admit that the whole thing around AIDS, the fear of it, the whole situation that has been created within civilization called AIDS, why don't you admit the fact about that it has killed millions of people and it is a concern for some? Can you admit that? Can you state that you're not denying that?
I cannot tell you what I think, like most of the people, because you guys try to turn around. No. AIDS did not kill the people. Again, it's not a disease. It's what they create around it.
You're playing a semantic argument because you don't really comprehend what this is.
I don't, because I know the story with AIDS, and it's a fake thing. And
I know it better than you do.
Okay.
Okay, I have a lot of research. I know it better than you do. I know much more details and analysis. But right now, I'm saying that you're either having a semantic problem.
No, it's not a semantic. It's the fact that when they took these people that they claimed to have AIDS and they treated them, the treatment killed these people. Yes. The treatment they gave the people. Yeah.
So why don't you just admit
it's not a semantic
that the phenomenon known as AIDS killed people? The phenomenon.
The treatment they gave people.
AIDS.
Yes.
The issue from the top of the heading, the main fundamental subject of what AIDS is, does kill. What that is, we're not talking about yet. Okay? If you want to further subdivide it and explain what's at the core of it, how they implement it, I'm not doing that right now. I'm just talking about the heading, okay? You got to get the heading fundamentally and basically and crucially across to people. First, the heading is that there's something, and it's a phenomenon of what's in the world, a reaction to it, a response of how they're going to make it better. That's what the thing is. Just like that's what AIDS was. So that's what Ebola is going to be. Ebola is going to be this entire phenomenon. Thank you. Okay? We don't need to get semantic here or anything and say what AIDS is. I'm not claiming that AIDS is an actual thing, because here's the clincher here. Here's what you really bring up, the conclusion, is that nothing is a material substance of its own. Everything in the world that happens, especially that kills people, it occurs because it's a state of mind and it's a reaction to it. It's how people face it. There is no substance. There's